Okay, copy these notes into your notebook. There is no worksheet to print out. We're just going to copy these manually. Okay, we're going to look at trigonometric ratios. Trigonometric, but you know, short for trigonometric is just the word trig, right? Trig. Trigonometric ratios. And if you remember, the ratio is another fancy word for kind of like a fraction, like 5 to 1, 3 to 1. But we're gonna see it as a fraction. Okay, and you've seen this material before. You should have learned some bit of it back in geometry, and then you should have also seen this again in algebra 2, and then you're just revisiting it again. So I'm gonna go a little quicker on these notes. Okay, so the first three trig ratios that we're gonna look at is the sine ratio. If you remember sine, the sine ratio, the cosine ratio, and the tangent ratio. And for those of you that remember, for sine, you hopefully remember this little, I want to call it an acronym, but so, and then for cosine it was ka, and then for tangent it was toa. Yep, that famous so, ka, toa. So these three letters here, they help you. They help you for knowing how to set up these ratios. Why is this so gonna help you for sine? Well, because sine starts with the letter S. That's what this first S is. And cosine, or I'm sorry, ka starts with the letter C, and that's why you know it's for cosine. And toa starts with a little t, and that's how you know it's for tangent. So that's what this first letter is for. The last two are the ones that set up the ratio, your fraction, which is your numerator over the denominator. So, starting with so, S would be what? Sine of the angle is equal to, there's your S, would be O over H. And we're going to talk about what O and H is, I'll remind you. Sine is S, so is S, here's your S, O, H, so is to set up the sine ratio. The first letter is the trig function, and then the other two is the fraction, the numerator, the O and the H, numerator over denominator. Ka, the C is for what? C is for cosine of the angle is equal to what? A over H, that's going to be the ratio. The last two are the ratio, setting up that fraction, that ratio. And then obviously T, that first letter is for the function, which is tangent, which is short, right? The abbreviation for sine is S-I-N. It's not sin, it's sine. Cosine, and then tan is tangent, right? Short for tangent. The tangent ratio is what? O over A. Okay, so the first letter is the function, the trig function. S is for sine, C is for cosine. But what is this O and H and OH and AH? What's this OHA? What's that business? All right. That refers to the sides of these right triangles. Remember, this only works on, this is for right triangles only. These trigonometric ratios are only for right, which means it has to have a 90-degree angle, right, that corner. Only for right triangles. It doesn't work on all types of triangles. It has to have a 90-degree right triangle. Okay, so let's talk about what this O and H and A, these sides are. Okay, so when you're given a triangle, right? So let's go ahead and draw a right triangle here. Here's my 90 degrees. You're gonna have to label these sides. The first one, obviously, you will identify as the hypotenuse side. Again, they will rotate these triangles. But the hypotenuse side, hopefully that should not be so difficult to spot and identify. That's your H. That's what the H stands for. This is your H. It's for hypotenuse. Now, sometimes the O or the opposite side is here, and sometimes the O or the opposite side is here. This is where students mess up. They won't mess up the H. That's not too difficult. But the opposite and the adjacent side, I mean, if you put these wrong, that's it. You're going to get it wrong. Okay, so let's say, now how are you going to know? How are you going to determine which one's the opposite and which one's the adjacent? Well, that all depends on the angle, where the angle measure, or the angle that they're looking at. If I put my angle here, right, then that makes this side, right, if I'm looking at this angle, which is these two sides here that are making this side, this would be your opposite side, your O side. It's opposite of the angle. This would be your opposite side. And then that makes the last one what? Well, obviously there's only one more letter, the A. It's only an H, a O, and an A. That makes this your A, your adjacent side. So watch how I'm going to draw another triangle here. I actually draw it exactly the same. You could draw it exactly looking, facing the same way. See, this will still be my hypotenuse side. See, the hypotenuse side is still the hypotenuse side. Okay, that's going to be your H. Right, we'll label that my H. It's my hypotenuse side, right? We're just going to abbreviate hypotenuse H, O, opposite, and A adjacent, right? Save us from all that writing. But now if the angle is over here, this is a different problem, totally different problem. See, here the angle we were looking at was here. Now if the angle's up here, this one over here, that makes this one what? This is now the opposite of the angle. This is your opposite side here. See, the hypotenuse is still the hypotenuse, but now since the angle's here, this is the opposite side. And now this makes your adjacent side right there. Okay, so they're gonna rotate and oh, that does not look like 90 degrees. They're gonna have different orientations for these triangles, right? They're gonna turn them and rotate them and stuff. And your job is to label the O, the H, and the A. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just going to see, I don't know which one's the opposite and the adjacent. I haven't given you the angle. But I know for sure, no matter which angle it is, I know which one's the hypotenuse side. This is the hypotenuse side, and this is the hypotenuse side. Always label that one first. That's my H or my hypotenuse. And then you gotta wait till you look at the angle so you know which one's the opposite or which one's the adjacent. If I make this here the angle, that means that now this is the opposite side and the last one's the adjacent. And similarly here, so you gotta wait, you gotta look and see which is the angle that you're looking at for this triangle. If I make this the angle here, and if I follow those two or I look across, see that makes this one the opposite side. That's the hypotenuse, that's the opposite, that makes this the adjacent side. Okay, so that's how we set up the trig ratios, and that's how you make sure you label these sides correctly. Okay, on the second part of the notes, we'll actually do some of these problems. There will be some work to do on some of these, how you need to simplify some of these ratios, so make sure you look at this second video. All right.